People did keep them as pets.
Yeah.
I mean, my neighbour, Mr. Washington, who used to have the concrete coal bunker factory where the Renault Formula 1 factory is now, he had all sorts of exotic animals over there. In fact, the day my sister got married, on the way to the church, there were 3 boys chasing an ostrich around the field on the side of the road that escaped.
We never had anything around here, I don't think, that's got out. We used to live in Heathrow Park, so we used to hear the lions roaring.
Oh yeah, that was brilliant.
Yeah, well,
I tell you what, it makes your hair stand on end. You walk through the woods,
well, that and the wolves, you hear the wolves howling and the lions roaring, and then we were only young, and sometimes we'd have to turn back in the walk, thinking that sounds a bit close for my liking.
I like taking the pigs up there because for 20 years we took the dead pigs up to them. And the more I saw of those animal trainers, who are a breed on their own, definitely, the more impressed I was with what they could get the animals to do. And we were up there one day and looking at the panthers, and he said, "Watch this." He went, and they came over. He said, "Roll over," and the cat rolled over. He said, "In a minute, its claws will come out." And I thought these claws would never stop coming out. And I said, "My God, they could do some damage with that, couldn't they?" And he said, "Look at this," and he rolled his sleeve up.
That's going to be bad.
I didn't like to ask him what had happened to his face because he'd had one lock vertically and one lock horizontally.
Oh, wow. Have you ever seen Tiger King that came out right in the beginning of lockdown, the first lockdown? It's where to start with that? It's an American show about these 2 people. One of them's a very sort of bunny hugger, for want of a better word, tiger keeper who rescues tigers and keeps them all in there, and the other one's a redneck, for want of another better word, and they have hundreds of tigers in these 2 places, and some of this stuff, they go in there and they're playing with these tigers like they're cats, and you think,
I don't do it.
Yeah.
The guy lost his arm at Heathrow, you see.
They lost some of their arms as well.
And I said, "How long were you in the operating theatre for?" He said, 3 hours the first time, 5 hours the second time. He said, "It was my own fault. I was going backwards with this broom and it just put its claw and grabbed me, pulled it in."
That's the thing, it only takes 2 seconds, isn't it?
They are so powerful. In that hot summer 1976, we were bailing at Chivell Farm next door, and they had a dead, it was doing bacon pig, probably weighed 220 pounds. And it was a really hot day, and Terry bore the pig and said, "Give me a hand with this, Frank. I want to get it on the transfer box. We'll take it along to the zoo." And I went along with him, and we dragged it off. And the guy said, "Oh, I'm knackered." Chap who chops them up, he said, "Let's chuck it in whole." So there were a male lion and 2 female lions, and he squeaked them up, and they come along and they put the sliding door behind them, and 3 of us struggled to get this 200-pound pig up in there. And then he opened the gate, and the big lion came through and picked it up in its jaws and threw it in the air like a terrier with a rat. The strength in their shoulders and neck is absolutely phenomenal.
It makes short work of us.
A leopard will take a deer that weighs 3 times its own weight up a tree.
Yeah.
Run up the tree, or a warthog up a tree and run up there with it.
Yeah.
I mean
and then some of these on this program as well, people are having them rearing them in their house.
Yeah.
All it takes is one day it's in a bad mood. It doesn't have to be a bad animal. It just has to have a bad day. It's a bit tired and doesn't like what it's doing. That could be your neck off.
I was up there one day. My little boy was about 6 or 7. His mate was staying with us, and we had to take a couple of pigs up. "Come on, bring your mate." Ash's name was. We took him up there, and we got there, and the keeper said, "I bet you'd like to see our new cubs, wouldn't you? These tiger cubs." So he squeaks the mummy tiger up and puts the gate across, and he goes in and picks this tiger up and hands it to the boy. And the one he had got, it just put its claws just through his front shirt buttons, and he went like this, because they're needle sharp. Even at 10 days old, their claws are needle sharp. But beautiful animals, and I've taken people up there when I've been up there and seen the tigers, and you see them through a plate glass window. You're only a few feet away from them. And on the way back, I said, "What are your impressions of the tigers?" And they say, "I never realised how big they were, a tiger, because they've got these Bengal cross Siberian ones. The Siberian, there's 11 subspecies of tigers, and the Siberian's the biggest. He can be 10 or 11 foot long from nose to tail." And then they hybridise them. But they always, I think, breed from the ones that are easier to train and with the best markings on them.
Yeah.
And they've been bred in captivity for 100 years.
Well, I see the attraction. It makes you feel so, I don't know,
their eyeballs
small, doesn't it?
Bore through you. They just steam straight
That's
through.
That's got to give you a rush. That's definitely.
And the other thing was, talking to the keepers up there, they said they'll always go for the easiest prey. If we have an open day, which they do in September, and a child in a pushchair, they're all looking at the child in the pushchair. And then a chap comes in with a limp, and they all fix on him because he's the easiest prey.
Yeah.
And it's innate in them.
I think bulls do that as well. They don't. You probably know more about that.
No, I don't know too much about wolves. Yeah,
bulls.
Oh, bulls.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Well, we used to have some bulls in here, and I swear they used to go. Sometimes if someone would get in and they had a bit of a limp, they wouldn't do much damage, but they sort of veer over to them and start nudging them around. Maybe it was just in my imagination because I was only I was a child at the time or whatever, and maybe I was just thinking, well, maybe they're I was thinking they're going to come over to me, and they always went over to someone else who might have a limp, but I could be making it up in my mind, having not being used to the size of those animals as well. But
the American thing about keeping these big cats and tigers, they reckon there's more tigers in California than in India now, don't they?
Texas or something, in the whole world or something,
yeah. And why? What gets into them? They're big animals, aren't they? I suppose.
You should watch Tiger King. It's quite interesting. I think it's more entertainment for the people on it than it is for the cats. So they are. You couldn't make them up. They are quite funny, but it is good.